Hello, welcome to Krafting Kitty. My name is Erin and it's Thursday. On Thursdays here, we don't tend to have a set agenda for the channel. As I mentioned yesterday, I kind of took the week off from doing the Wednesday wipeout, so I had a bit more time to work on the book Dragon Blanket, but I also used some of that time to clean in the craft room here. Whilst I was cleaning, I discovered a problem that I kind of knew was developing, but didn't quite realize how large the problem was yet. And that is large leftover pieces of fingering weight sock yarn from my sock adventures. I love making socks. I love it. What has happened is, for my husband Brian, he needs a 100-gram hank of sock yarn to make a pair of socks. For the kids and I, we can get a pair of socks from a 50-gram ball, half a 100-gram hank, whatever you want to say. So that leaves me with lots of bits. Now this yellow yarn I have in my hand is sparkly yellow yarn from the Golden Girls mystery boxes, subscription boxes I was getting from Trilogy Yarns. I have used this yarn in at least 4 pairs of socks. I made a pair of socks for myself. I made a pair of socks for Bingo that was the basket weave socks, and that one used, there was like a powder blue mini that came with this. So that used up all of that yarn, the powder blue. But I was still left with more. So I recently made froggy socks for Chomps and Bingo. And I used this for the heel, cuff, and toes. I still have about 30 grams left. It's a lot of yarn. I am making, it's over there, kind of ever-expanding granny square blanket with remnants from fingering weights that I've used. Knowing that heel, toes, cuffs take about 20 grams, I am reluctant to put something that's more than 20 grams into that blanket. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll find the perfect use for it. But I need to keep the craft room in order, and having things like this float around is not especially helpful. So I was thinking on what to do. I was noodling away, and I think the answer has come to me from little Miss Lit Knits. She is a pattern project instigator, and I love her. A while back, she suggested the Battenberg blanket by Sandra Paul. It's cherryheart.co.uk, and this is the pattern. It is kind of based on a dessert called the Battenberg. Is it a cake? I think it is a cake. It's like a checkerboard cake that's, I believe, popular in the UK. And so basically you take, I'm seeing Crafty Clegg, I believe, is using some of her remnant sock yarns to make this. And basically the blanket has, like, as conceived, you use off colors to make half the squares, and the other half of the squares are kind of a control palette, an off palette, a contrast palette. That's the word I'm looking for. And you make little 4x4s and then set them in the blanket. And I was like, oh, maybe I just make up a bunch of those itty bitty squares until I have enough to put together the Battenberg blanket. But something wasn't really moving me, and I think it's because I have the idea of wanting a continuing contrast color throughout. And I think rather than maybe a continuing contrast color, maybe what I'm thinking of is more tonal, like pastels and darkers, or pastels and brights, or something like that to contrast the two, so it's not necessarily the same color throughout. But anyway, I'm having a hard time committing to making all of these itty bitty granny squares with this yarn, because frankly they are itty bitty granny squares, and that is a lot of joining of itty bitty granny squares. And then I was looking at my books over there, and I also remember that Miss Litnitz sent me an email saying, oh, Erin, you should think of this book. And I am sad that I totally forgot about this book. I've had this book for probably over a year now. Mini Skein Knits. 25 knitting patterns using small skeins and leftovers. And all of the advent packs and things like this I've been buying. Do you know how long I've been searching Ravelry for the perfect pattern to make with this? This is a beautiful yarn I got from a chick that knits. She's a hand dyer, I believe, in Oklahoma. Look at this hat. Look at this hat. It's all chevrons in 5 minis. The answer was right here all along. So, if you are one of my knitting friends and are looking for things to do with this kind of remnant, or these kind of packs, or advent packs, or anything, or like you're like me and you just have large bags of scraps, check out this book. I am no way affiliated. I don't have any affiliate links with Amazon. I don't know this author. Mini Skein Knits. I'm not even seeing a cover author. It just says Lark, New York. There's no author. Surely there's pattern designers. Yep, there's separate pattern designers. They're listed. So, it's kind of like my Fridays with Fred book, where there's like, I imagine it as an editorial board or some sort of editor who pulled together all of these patterns under this theme. This is amazing. Now, there's a number of things in here that I wouldn't make, but there's that hat, and that uses fingering weight yarn. That hat, in particular, this one used Mad Tosh Unicorn Tails, which I believe are 10-gram minis that you can get from Madeline Tosh. Look at this one. This is Crazy Color Trio, hat, cowl, and mittens. And this one's using DK, so it's all different weights of yarn. You're not stuck with fingering. You look at that fun hat. It's actually the cover stuff. So look at that fun hat with a cowl and mittens. That's what I'm going to do with what's left over from the Lamina wrap I'm making with the DK yarn from that Advent I got from Paw Ply Yarns. What? Come on. And then there's like this super cute ombre headband. Look at all of these ideas to do with this thing. This uses 5 different colors as well. There's this awesome like wrap scarf. Unclear how 50-gram skeins. So these are half-gram, or these are half hanks, 57-gram skeins. It says Dragonfly fibers. This used the set, but there you go. Look at that. Look at how cool that is. That's kind of calling back like Vertices Unite almost to me. And then there's this shawl that uses an ombre mini set. But you could stripe that up no problem. It doesn't have to be ombre. This one's called the Rainy Day Shawl. I haven't looked to see if any of these are separately available on like Ravelry or anything, but you never know. Infinity Rainbow Cowl. Like, this is adorable. Look at how cute that is. This book is like a treasure. There are cardigans. Now, I will say the book is not size inclusive. There are 2 sweaters in here, and they both stop at The first one, the one I showed you there, claims it goes up to an XL. Or no, I'm sorry. Goes up to, says 2XL, but the biggest bust measurement is 49 inches. That's a small for a 2XL in my opinion. And the other sweater is just as gorgeous. And this one goes a little bit bigger. The largest chest measurement is a 51-inch chest measurement. So it doesn't go, but look at how cute that is. And this is one that the sweater as designed looks like it calls for negative ease. One thing that annoys me about this sweater, and this is how it's knit to this person. You can change this. You can make sleeves however long you want. It's, this is what Shannon would call a belly shirt. And the sleeves aren't long enough for this lady. Come on, do your model a favor. That's not, like a 3/4 sleeve would end here. That's just a short sleeve. That's like, oops, ran out 2 inches short, gonna stop. Here you go, here's your sweater. But anyway, this is a treasure trove. And I think this is going between that Battenberg blanket and this is going to use a lot of these minis. I am so glad I was cleaning in the craft room and discovered a problem and then promptly stumbled in through my own, I don't even want to say, like, I literally just stumbled in. I was walking in and I had cleaned something behind me which left the spine exposed, and I saw the spine of the book. So it was pure chance that I found that. I don't know how the Battenberg blanket popped in my head. I'm going to be honest, I'm so sorry. I have not been keeping up with Crafty Clegg, but I believe she is the channel I had seen working on that blanket. But I am so excited and even more enthused. I think that's a question a lot of us have, is we love these little sets. We love the idea of advent calendars. And like the minis are adorable, but what do you do with them once you have them? It's a challenge. If you crochet the Battenberg, and that blanket I believe is designed for fingering weight yarn, but there's no reason you couldn't adapt your hooks and use whatever weight of yarn you desire. Of course, if you use a larger hook, a thicker yarn, the squares will be larger, but that checkerboard effect would be just beautiful no matter what. And if you knit, this book is a wealth of ideas. I love that rainbow cardigan there, but it's just not my size, and I can't foresee dropping to that size anytime soon. But I could make one of the smallest ones for bingo, or now I do think the neckline on that is rather feminine, but there's no reason that other more scoop-necked one, I could see that being unisex. So, I don't know, let me know if you disagree. Does that neckline there, it feels feminine to me. She's wearing a little cami under there, but just how deep that V is. I don't think that's a style you often see with men, especially with the scooped V. I think with a man you'd see a much more severe V. But let me know if you think I'm incorrect there. But this, I mean, that's just a crew neck. That you can put on anybody. So, yeah. Although that one does have waist and hip shaping, but if you're making it for a man that doesn't need the waist and hip shaping, just don't do those decreases and you're fine. It will, of course, change the amount of yarn you're using, but if you're using scraps anyway, maybe it just uses up more scraps for you. So yeah, please let me know what other ideas you have. I was just so excited and frankly wanted to record this brainstorm before it flits away and I forget. But what I'm thinking is with this The unicorn tails in that very first pattern are, like I said, I believe 10-gram minis, and these are 20-gram minis. So I would be able to make that hat and a corresponding cowl. To make a cowl using a hat pattern, you just don't do the crown decreases. Now, you would want to make it slightly bigger than a hat, because I mean, you want it to be comfortable. Although some people do, I think, like tighter cowls. And I mean, look at how your body is created. Your head is much wider than your neck. So I guess as long as you can just get it over your neck. But I've always wanted to add like at least 10 to 20, usually 20 stitches to the circumference if I'm making a cowl adapted from a hat. But it depends on the pattern repeats in here. So I would have to go in and really read, which I haven't done yet, what the pattern repeat is for that cowl, or for that hat, so I could adapt it for a cowl. It's a 7-stitch repeat. So there I would add 14 stitches, I think. Maybe 21. It's a fingering weight. 21. 21. Just to see. But yeah, my creative juices are flowing. I would love if you guys had any other ideas or, you know, scrap projects that you love that are a bit outside of the standard. Just make a bunch of granny squares and throw it together, which are beautiful blankets. I'm not knocking that. I think that it's a fabulous way to use your scraps, and I love how they come together. But sometimes we crave a bit more. We crave something different. Let's be honest, making granny square after granny square can get old after a while, which I think is one of the things making me pause on the ye old Battenberg straight out with this. But I think if you did it more slowly, I'm going to have to think on Battenberg. Do I want like a cohesive color scheme or not? Because if I'm just using scraps, that could get out of hand and discordant quickly, because I always kind of joke about mystery bags that it doesn't really matter. No matter the color I get, someone in the family will like it. So, like, Brian likes his earth tones. Chomps loves his vibrant, bright colors, reds, orange, yellows. Bingo is all things girly. Give her pinks and purples and like mint greens, and give her all things princess and unicorn and mermaid. And I love the fall tones and the jewel tones. So that leaves very little that ends up unclaimed. I guess I said earth tones for Brian. He likes earth tones and neutrals, which aren't always necessarily the same. But there you go. Like I said, let me know if you have any other projects that pop into your mind about, you know, scrap projects and things to use up large remnants, because there is no way this is being disposed of in the trash can. There is a lot of use here. Like I said, I could do heel toes cuffs for probably 2 more pairs of socks with this if I wanted. And then still have some left over to throw in that blanket, the big granny square one. Or I could make, like, that's the thing, like, I haven't looked at the Battenberg blanket close enough to see how much yarn they're saying per little itty bitty mini square. But I feel like, looking at the pictures, I could make a whole heck of a lot out of 30 grams. But yeah, like I said, let me know. I know this ending keeps going on and on and on, and Brian just texted me, so I've gotten distracted and I'm repeating myself. I'm going to stop here. Love to you all. I will see you tomorrow.